to another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ died and he rose again. Let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? Okay, so I see these questions online. They post NBA logos and NFL logos, and they say, "What is the first thing you think about when you see this logo?" Okay, and let me tell you something. When I bought this Warrior shirt, okay, when I bought this Warrior shirt, okay, this classic Warrior shirt, okay, let me tell you something. I think of two things, okay, and I'm sorry, I think of two things: Latrell Sprewell and PJ Carlesimo. That's who I think of when I look at this shirt. Latrell Sprewell and PJ Carlesimo. Because other than that, when the Warriors had this logo right here, what did they accomplish? I'll wait. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. Didn't do much. I know they upset the AC Mavericks in the 2007 playoffs, I believe. Yeah, I believe they upset the 2007 Mavericks in the 2007 playoffs. Okay, they did hit that, and I was actually cheering for them because I did not like the Dallas Mavericks at that time. Okay, but when I see this logo right here, I primarily think of two things: the Latrell Sprewell, PJ Carlesimo. That's it. Okay, Latrell Sprewell, PJ Carlesimo, and that is it. And I bet if people look at his logo right here, they're going to be thinking the same thing. Latrell Sprewell, PJ Carlesimo, and nothing happened on the court, at least. Okay, so I saw all this. And I hope Jason Williams was being sarcastic when he said this, okay? Sacramento Kings, Jason Williams, okay? So, Jason Williams said, he was talking to Basketball Network, he said, "We are talking about a bunch of white guys. Jason Williams undermines Michael Jordan's competition in the NBA Finals." I hope Jason Williams was being sarcastic when he said that, okay? I really hope so. According to Jason Williams, there is a way to explain MJ's success. In an episode of Hooping and Hollering, White Chocolate argued that the level of competition Jordan faced in the 1990s was underwhelming, making those runs less daunting than they might appear in hindsight. Less daunting than they appear in hindsight. Who did Mike play against? Okay. For some reason, the topic of MJ's competition popped up in the conversation. That first started with Michael Porter Jr. after MPJ compared his high school dominance of that to LeBron James. The panel pointed to the quality of competition as a factor, which opened the door to a broader discussion about the quality of Jordan's opponents. Okay. So this is coming from Jason Williams. Just like Michael Jordan, who did he beat in the finals? When he won the finals, if we're talking about lesser competition, Jay will ask, John Stockton, Jeff Hornacek, Craig Elo, Greg Ostertag, Dan Marley. We're talking about a bunch of white guys, great players. But you know what I'm saying? Okay, so the topic of MJ's conversation, Michael Porter Jr., okay? Michael Porter Jr., okay? Compared that to the high school dominance of LeBron James, okay? Okay, so while MJ did face guys like Stockton and Hornacek as well as Thunder Dan, reducing that to a competition to a racial shorthand is lazy and completely misses the point. I agree. By that logic, LeBron James. Come on. The page let's crash. Okay. All right. Um, by that logic, LeBron James would have said to have lost to a bunch of white guys: Dirk Nowitzki, J.J. Barea, and Peja Stojakovic, and won titles over another group later in the finals. An argument that clearly strips away any context and nuances. If anything, Black Jesus faced the stiffest competition during those playoff runs. He went up against 60-win teams 9 times in the postseason, winning 7, including the Phoenix Suns, who had Marley, and the Utah Jazz, who had Stockton and Hornacek. Right? Okay. This article completely preempts my point I was going to make. Those teams had Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Stockton. The NBA's all-time assist leaders, steals and assist leader for a reason. There was the Lakers with Magic, the Blazers with Clyde, these are Seattle Supersonics with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. Okay. So while White Chocolate brought up and questioned his MJ Finals resume, the conversation naturally shifted to James. It was mildly surprising that Williams, an old-school hooper, would weaken Jordan's accomplishments by pointing out his competition. It's also a topic that might put LeBron in the upper hand, having beaten the greatest regular team of all time in the 2016 finals. The co-host ended up saying this. They're like, "Oh, Braun loses. Do you know who he has to go or had to go against in those finals, bro?" Okay. All right. If anything, the contrast highlights how different eras produce different challenges. LeBron's defining moment came against a super team at its peak, while Mike's came through repeatedly navigating experienced contenders. Each faced tough competition in very different ways. What truly matters is how they handled them when it counted. Okay. So, I think Jason, somehow the topic of Michael Jordan gets brought up when you're discussing Michael Porter Jr., okay? And, yes. Michael did play. First of all, now we see why Jordan sits back and says absolutely nothing. Okay? We understand why Jordan sits back and says nothing, while everybody else debates LeBron versus Jordan. I think Jordan is a genius for just sitting back and saying absolutely nothing. I've said this all before. What makes Jordan the GOAT is he doesn't consider himself the GOAT. Okay? He said that in an interview. Michael said that would be putting himself above the people who came before him, who played this game. Like the Russells, the George Mikens, the Wilts, the Wests, the Baylors, the Magics, the Birds. So, from that standpoint, Michael said he doesn't consider himself the GOAT, which is why he is the GOAT, because he doesn't consider himself the GOAT. Okay? And so, when Jason Williams makes some silly comments like, we're talking a whole bunch of white guys, so we're going to forget that he was playing against Magic, Worthy, AC Green in the 991 finals, Clyde Drexler, Buck Williams, Cliff Robinson, Kevin Duckworth in the 992 finals, Barkley, KJ, Richard Dumas, Sean Kemp, Gary Payton in the 996 finals, Hershey Hawkins. Okay, we're just gonna forget about all of them. Okay, But I just think it was so silly for Jason Williams to make that comment. Like MJ going up against a bunch of white guys, okay? That's silly for him to say, okay? And Jeff Hornacek was an all-star, okay? You forget that. Jeff Hornacek was an NBA all-star, okay? Stockton is a multiple-time all-star, okay? So these white guys are not slouches, okay? John Stockton was no slouch. Jeff Hornacek was no slouch. Craig Elo was no slouch. He was known more for his defensive ability, okay? And he could also shoot the 3 too, okay? But for Jay Will to make that comment, that's just silly. That's just silly to make that comment about Jay Will. And which is while we're on the subject of Michael Jordan, we can transition into another great player for the Bulls who just had his jersey retired. Derrick Rose. Okay. 2008 to 2016. He was at the Bulls. He just had an unfortunate set of injuries that robbed him. Yeah. He just had an unfortunate set of injuries that robbed him. I think his first career moment came against the Boston Celtics in the 2009 Eastern Conference first round versus the Celtics. I believe he led up the Celtics for 36 points in a Game 1 victory. Yeah, he scored 36 in the Game 1 victory. And, oh my goodness. That's one of the series that I will always remember, okay? That is one of the series that I will always remember because it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think the classic game of that series was Game 5, when each team went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The Celtics had the game 1, then they didn't. The Bulls had the game 1, then they didn't. The Celtics had the game 1, they didn't. The Bulls had the game 1, then they didn't. Okay. So yeah, I think Derrick Rose's coming out party was that playoff series against the Celtics. Then when they hired Tom Thibodeau as head coach, they went 62-20 in 2011, and they were supposed to beat the Miami Heat that year, but they didn't, and I was one of the more disappointed ones that they didn't beat the Miami Heat, especially since my younger brother is a Miami Heat fan. Okay, right? And so they go 62-20. Derrick Rose is the MVP, but they just can't close it out against LeBron and the Heat. And I was very, very disappointed that the Bulls did not win, because it should have been Bulls and Mavericks in the NBA Finals that year. But when the Miami Heat lost, I felt a little bit more better. When they lost to the Mavericks, I felt a little bit better. Okay. Then the lockout season. Okay. The lockout season, where they played 66 games and the Bulls went 50-15, 50-16, or something like that. They were better than the Miami Heat, right? They had a record than the Miami Heat 2 years in a row, okay? And there were some who said that the Bulls, they were going to go all the way. Then we saw what happened in Game 1 versus the Sixers. Oh my God. I remember when that had happened. I was at the car wash. Washing my car, listening to the game on radio. Okay? Listening to the game on radio. And then I saw something that I saw something on social media that said this might change the whole tenor of the series. And I'm like, what are they talking about? This might change the whole tenor of the series. Then I got home and I discovered that he tore his ACL. He tore his ACL and yeah. And man, I believe the Bulls would have won at least a title or two had Derrick Rose stayed fully healthy. Okay? Had Derrick Rose stayed fully healthy, they wouldn't have won a title. Okay? And the ironic part is they actually won a playoff series without Derrick Rose. Y'all remember that when they played Brooklyn in the first round? Yeah. They played Brooklyn in the first round. And they won that series when Nate Robinson was the point guard. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So I think if Derrick Rose stayed healthy his entire career in Chicago, they would have won a championship or two. I firmly believe that. He did have some poster dunks like this one over the one in Phoenix. I think it's probably the most famous one right here.
Good defense. Lead pass.
Oh, stop it! Stop it! Do not do him like that! What are you doing, Dragons? Did you not get the memo? Derrick Rose can go upstairs.
He double clutches this. Watch this.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, he actually pumps this ball. Watch.
I want to go higher. Oh my goodness! Dragons! Somebody grab Dragons and say, do you know who this kid is? He is from Chicago. He has a 40-inch vertical. And you are, where's my poster machine? This is what I need, my poster machine. Where's it at? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that dunk on Dragic. How do you pronounce his name? I would say. That's probably one of the most remembered one. But the one I remember most, well, I say the most remembered one, but the one I also remember is the one he had over Joel Embiid. Not Joel Embiid, Joel Anthony. My bad. The one he had over Joel Anthony in the playoffs versus the Miami Heat. That one sticks out. So yeah. Derrick Rose, man, that guy was athletic. He was athletic as hell. Just moved through the air. Man. Again, if he had a longer, if injuries had not robbed him, I believe the Bulls would have won a title or two. Okay. I firmly believe that. The Bulls would have won the title or two. And, but who never know, because the injuries got him. But he had his jersey retired. Now he's up there with Jerry Sloan, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Bob Love, and now Derrick Rose is up there. Derrick Rose is up there. He had one hell of a career. I think his best years were in Chicago. His best years were in Chicago when he was just freakishly athletic. And now his jersey sits up there with the greats of the Bulls. Okay? That's it. That's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am out of here. May God bless you all. Peace. It is snowing here in Memphis. Now it's starting to melt. So, yeah, it's cold out here. All right, y'all. Peace.